All right, folks, we have Kyle McCord here. We're going to open up Andy Backstrom, Letterman row. Fourth row right there, Kyle.
Yep.
What's one thing that you learned in this process maybe you didn't expect to learn going into this quarterback competition?
I think the biggest thing is just controlling the things that you can control, taking it one day at a time and focusing on getting better. Those little steps. I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the big picture and, you don't make any progress doing it. I think the most important thing is, focus on it every day and, making the steps to become the best player you can possibly be.
We will go Ari Wasserman, second row right, The Athletic.
Kyle, when you're in a program for multiple years, just in a world where people are leaving when they don't win jobs and, going to new places, what do you think the continuity does for a quarterback battle? And, how more comfortable do you feel in a system, being familiar with everything and the way that Ryan has done things here?
Yeah, I think, his track record obviously speaks for itself. I think, you look at the guys that have stuck around at this program. I mean, they all go on to do really good things. And so, even though, it didn't happen exactly right away for me, I knew that, it was a marathon and that, if I stuck around and, trusted the process and kept getting better and that, I put myself in a good position.
We will go fourth row middle, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan was just talking to us about his first year as a starting quarterback and trying to do too much early on. He threw interceptions when he shouldn't. You've obviously started the game, you've played a decent amount, but how do you kind of approach, if you're the guy week one, not trying to overdo things and just kind of play the game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just doing your job is the most important thing. With the team, around us here, I mean, the O-line, the receivers, the running backs, tight ends, I mean, they're going to make plays for you. And then, just sticking, I think, to, the routine plays. And then, when the opportunities present itself to go out and make a big throw or make a big play, that's when I think, you let your talent on display. But, that'll come. I think just getting in the flow of the game is important. And getting the ball to the playmakers and letting them go to work.
Deep right field, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman row.
I would actually have had good receivers to throw to the spring, but having Marvin back in full capacity means not always practicing in the spring. Julian and Mecca being back, both your running backs being there, does it feel a little more comfortable? Will it feel a little more comfortable in fall camp than it did in spring? Have all of the weapons back.
Yeah, I think spring was good for those younger guys. Getting first team reps, and then I think, like you said, getting Marv, Mech, and Julian all back healthy. I think those three are without a doubt the best receiving core in the nation. So I mean that's obviously going to help. But I think just kind of having the chemistry from the spring with those younger guys is going to be good. And then obviously been throwing to those guys for 3 years now. So I think it kind of all worked out in a good way.
Third row right, Cameron Teague Robinson, The Athletic.
When you look back at the spring game going into this summer, what did you see on tape that you liked that you did, and what did you see on tape that you were like, okay, this is something I need to fix or improve on?
Yeah, I think definitely made some plays, definitely wanted some reads back, but that's part of the growing process. And then I think this offseason that really gave me a good understanding of where I needed to work and things I needed to get. Take a step in. And, I think, I really worked this offseason, with purpose, with intention. And, I think that was really good for me. I think I grew a lot from that.
Timing thing, spring, or just kind of getting the hold of the system, something specific?
Yeah, I think just a little bit of everything. I think there was, a lot of good to take away, and then definitely some things, you wanted to clean up. And so, just watching that film, not only from the spring game, but just from spring practices, I think, there's definitely, like I said, some good and some bad. But just, taking, the things that you want to improve on and, really honing in on them and, not shying away from them and, just trying to make, every weakness a strength, I think was really kind of the mindset this offseason.
Right next door, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
So there's two parts to this quarterback thing, right? There's the mechanics, analytics, what you're doing on tape, where your hand is, where your hands are. And then there's the relational side, like leadership and command of the huddle. How are you how do you go back and forth between those two? Is it thrown into the same soup, or do you have to like compartmentalize? Now I'm going to work on this. Now I'm going to work on this.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think being intentional is important. I think, there's a time to work on, mechanics, obviously, like going out there in the field and, watching film of yourself and, being, your own hardest critic. I think that's important. And then I think, also, like you said, being a leader, I think, that comes in situations with the team, and just kind of, taking that next step. So I think, like I said, I think being intentional is the biggest thing. And, when those moments present themselves, making sure that you maximize them. I think both have kind of come, I want to say, kind of naturally. I think, when CJ was here, you don't want to step on his toes. Obviously, it's his team. But obviously, with him being gone, I think, you kind of naturally step up into that role, being a little bit more of a vocal leader and, letting your voice be heard. And then with the mechanics, I think that's always something that, I've been, big on. And, sometimes, when you get in the flow of the season and, in spring ball and there's a lot going on, you don't necessarily always have the time to, hone in. And so I think that off season, that we just went through was good, just having a few months to really, take a step back and dive into that was good.
Front row right, Austin Ward, rivals, dot in the eyes.
Kyle, I know that the pressure you put on yourself is more than anyone else, the expectations you have. When the conversation with Coach Day or the fan base or anybody else is that the quarterback has to be a first-round pick, win the Heisman, win a national championship, is there ever any moments that is overwhelming to think about?
Yeah, I think, no one will ever put, higher expectations or, higher standard on, myself than I will, and I always think that, you have to go out there and play with a lot of confidence. Obviously, you have to go out there and I think really just hone in on every play. And, you look at the guys before, like I've been watching, film of like 2018, watching Dwayne, then watching, JT in years before and Justin and CJ. I think, they've all, set a good precedent, but they've all done it their own way. So I think, just kind of realizing like there's, a lot of different ways this can be done. But, like I said, I don't think, anyone's ever put, an expectation on myself that I didn't expect for myself.
Far left, rather. Dan Hope, Lebanon Warriors.
Kyle, being the older guy in this competition, do you go into this competition feeling like this is my job to go win?
I think not even, focusing on the competition. I think, I feel, the best I have felt going into a camp before. Obviously I've had, the most experience I've had going into a camp. And, I think now more so than ever, I'm just, focusing on myself, and I know I'll be in a good position if, I put the best, version of myself out there.
Right behind him, Jeff Jefferson, Press Pros.
Coach Hartline, and you're just, how do you feel he's working into his new role, and what kind of relationship do you have with him?
Yeah, Coach Hartline did a great job this spring, for calling plays for the first time. I was really, pleasantly surprised with the way he saw the field. I think, just all his experience from coaching and playing showed. And, I think he kind of sees the field like a quarterback. And so, he did a great job with the pass concepts, the run concepts, all that. And, just getting on the same page with him is key. But, I think, just his years of, being around the game have really, kind of spotlighted themselves.
Front row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
You've mentioned the word intentional a couple times. What does that mean to you? Can you kind of elaborate on what that means?
Yeah, I think, sometimes it's easy to get caught up in, having, so much you want to work on, whether it's, mechanics or, whatever the case may be. But I think, having a plan before you go into a workout or a throwing session, like whatever it is, just, being very conscious of what you're trying to accomplish, I think is important.
Right behind him, Max Olson, the athletic.
Hey, Kyle, when you think back to your first fall camp here as a freshman, you're competing with CJ, they bring in Quinn. Where is your confidence level then, and where is it now?
Yeah, I think, you don't know what you don't know. Going to that first fall camp, I didn't know what the schedule was going to look like. I didn't know what the practices were going to look like and all that. And, having 2 fall camps under my belt and, going into year 3, I think, you have a good understanding of what to expect. And, you know what it takes to, get the job done. So I think, just having that experience is very helpful, going into that third one.
Front row right, Tim May, Letterman row.
You got Coach Dennis, you got Coach Fitch, you got Brian Hartline, you got Ryan Day. Who are you listening to the most?
I think all of them have, a lot of good insight. And the good thing about all of them is they kind of, preach the same things. And, obviously all those guys have a different way of getting it across. So I think, just all of them really, I mean, they all know what they're talking about. They've all had, a lot of years of experience in the game. And, you look at all their track records, I mean, it speaks for itself. So, really you can't go wrong with, who you're listening to and who you're getting advice from.
And real quickie, considering your head coach was in this position many years ago, fighting for a starting job, but also then played and stuff, how much do you just lean on him to a certain extent, Kyle, to kind of understand what's important?
Yeah, I think it's always helpful having a coach that's played the position. There's definitely something to be said for a guy that stood back there and taking snaps and played quarterback. And obviously I think you look at what he's done, it's no secret that he's the best, I think, in college football at developing guys. So anytime he gives you a piece of advice, you gotta take it and really apply it.
Right behind him, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
What's the most important football thing that you accomplished this summer?
Oh man, I think honestly, just being able to get up in the team and just be a vocal leader. I think that's really important with the quarterback. I think you watch those best guys like Brady, Burrow, and Rodgers. I think the one thing they obviously all have different styles of play, but they're all very vocal guys. And I think that was kind of the next step in my leadership process, is being heard. And I think this offseason I did a good job of getting up and talking in front of the team.
Deep center field, Jeremy Birmingham, dotting the I's, rivals.
I've known you a couple of years, and that is not really in your personality sometimes to be that loud guy, that vocal guy.
Yeah.
During spring ball, you were very demonstrative in practice. We saw you throwing a football up and hitting the ceiling in the Woody after a touchdown. Like, is that intentional, or is that just coming out of you naturally now because you're being put in this position potentially to lead?
Yeah, I think that is just kind of the joy and the competitive nature when it comes to playing this game. I mean, it's played and coached by, the most competitive people on the planet. And so, like you said, just having that energy and, having that joy of playing football, I think that's where that kind of comes from. And, it's been natural. I think, like I said, when, CJ was here, it was obviously his team, but now that, he's gone, just being able to kind of, step into that new leadership role, being more vocal, and, just kind of, letting, my true colors show. I think that's kind of where that comes from.
Just a couple more. Second row left, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
You mentioned a couple of times that you didn't really want to step on CJ's toes when it was his team, and so maybe you kind of backed off a little bit and let him have his moment. So are there just things about you and your personality and your leadership that the team hasn't had an opportunity to see because you were showing respect to the guy who was in front of you?
Yeah, I think that's kind of, what I was talking about earlier, is just being able to get up and speak in front of the team. I think sometimes, when there's, too many guys trying to say something, the message can kind of get, muffled a little bit. But, now that, he's gone and, you kind of feel comfortable getting up and talking in front of the guys, I think that's kind of been, that next step in, that leadership role and that aspect of being, heard and felt.
Front row right, Joey Kaufman, Plymouth Dispatch.
Kyle, as far as your working out over the summer, obviously you guys are not with coaches as much as far as strength and conditioning, outside of kind of strength and conditioning stuff. What were some of the things you did from camps or coaches or private coaches, or sort of what was your summer like kind of overall from all that stuff?
Yeah, so obviously, Coach Mick, got us right with the running and lifting, so getting bigger, stronger, and faster with him. And then, working with my quarterback coach from back home on just, mechanics and, all the little details of, the actual playing of quarterback. We kind of honed in this offseason, got some really good throwing sessions in. He came out here, I went back home. So just kind of, like I said, being intentional, if I'm in the weight room, being, very intentional with my lifts, and really focusing on, each individual lift and what I'm trying to get done, whether it's, the running, being very intentional with that. And then obviously going out there in the field and honing in on my mechanics. So those kind of 3 areas. And then, watching film and just trying to expand in all those areas.
Right behind him, Doug Laveries, the podcast.
Kyle, with where you are right now as a quarterback, what is your balance between making plays, wanting to take big shots, be a playmaker, versus making sure you don't turn the ball over or make mistakes? How do you see that balance right now?
Yeah, I think getting on the same page with, who's calling the plays, and, with each play call, what the coach is looking for. And so I think that was one thing that Coach Hartline did a great job of in the spring is, kind of let what he was looking for in each play, why he's calling a play and understanding the reason behind it. And there will be times to make plays. I mean, obviously, with the weapons that we have here, and, you go back and watch our film, like, we're going to take our shots, we're going to, throw the ball down the field, and the opportunities are going to be there. But it is when, they present themselves, you can't force anything. And, if a team wants to play, the safety's deep and not let you take anything, you got to understand that and work the underneath zones. And then, if they start getting aggressive and, trying to take that away, that's when, the shots are there. And so I think, just understanding the reason behind the play calls is important. And, I think that was one thing that, both Coach Day and Coach Hartline did a great job of.
Where do you think you are as a quarterback in broken plays? Once something breaks down, maybe you have to escape the pocket. Where are you? Are you good at that? Do you want to get better at that?
Yeah, I feel like I am good at that. And, I feel like, you can stand up here and I can say whatever, but at the end of the day, I think the film will speak for itself.
And final question, second row right, Bill Landis, the podcast.
Kyle, I know that you and Devin are really close. I'm not trying to paint this as anything other than that. But when you're competing with someone for a job, I'm sure you have some feel of your strengths and weaknesses compared to your competitor's strengths and weaknesses. When that's the case, do you try to accentuate the things that you think maybe you're a little behind in, or do you focus more on your strengths to try to elevate those and create separation that way, or do you just not think about it?
Yeah, I don't think that's really something that, crosses your mind. Obviously, when, you're out there on the field, you're going to be competing with, the defense, whoever you're going against. And so I think, Devin will say this too. I think, we definitely pushed each other in the spring, which was good. I think, he brought the best out of me. I brought the best out of him. And I think it's been a really healthy competition with each other. And so, when you go out there in the field, I think, you're just focused on one thing and it's doing your job to, the best of your abilities.
Great. Kyle, thank you very
Cool.
much.
Thanks.